When the night is over, my life is over. 'Cause I start thinking again about our time together. When the night is over, my life is over. 'Cause I start thinking again about our time together. When the night is over, my life is over. 'Cause I start thinking again about our time together. When the night is over, my life is over. 'Cause I start thinking again about our time together.
Looking past my reflection, thinking about what you mentioned. You were supposed to be the one to take every last pain away. Nothing on our loving, maybe time told us that we were different. Did it break you down? Staring at the ceiling, fighting off a feeling. One more minute, 'cause I just don't wanna come down, don't wanna go back to how I used to be.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Kyle Corvus Crow. I'm joined at the desk, as always, by the one and wonderful Coco the Dragon. We are excited to be with you here tonight as we do have Columbia College, a very well known name in the Collegiate League of Legends atmosphere, coming up against Illinois Wesleyan University, which, if you've been paying attention, you would have seen them square off against Stony Brook University a couple weeks ago. Gave them a very strong looking 2-0, but Columbia certainly looking like the team to beat here, right?
Oh yeah, Colombia is 100% the team to beat. Their records, though, through like out history as it is sort of slowly start started to decay. But this is sort of 2020 new resurgence into the collegiate scene, and they're looking at CSL as sort of that planted flag of saying we are back into the upper echelons of collegiate teams and preparing later on for the like collegiate run on for Riot Games specifically.
Absolutely. And yeah, with that, everyone hoping to run through the official C-Law, make it a very strong standing. CSL, our Star League, a very good chance for a lot of teams to kind of test their mettle against that, refine and adapt some of those strategies to make it work for themselves there. We do appreciate your patience as we're getting ready to get into the pro draft before too long. We are trying to just sort out a couple things with the lobby right here. These games are being played live for us, so that's always just a special part of the fun here. And actually, while we have a minute, I do want to extend a little bit of a thank you to some of these players because before we begin, it is important to note that we're all facing a lot of uncertainty in the world as it is today. And without
For
naming any
sure.
names, I do understand several of tonight's competitors went to great lengths with their schedules and setups, even to play here for us live. And I do want to make sure that they know that that's not something we here take for granted. And we know that a lot of this isn't exactly specific to our players either. Many of you are facing similar challenges and uncertainties as we do navigate just the current landscape of
Yeah.
everything. And with that, we know you have a virtually limitless pool of things to choose from when it comes to what you watch with your streams here. And so it does mean the world to us that you support C Star League and help us and the rest of the collegiate esports scene kind of rise up and stay afloat in this time. So we want to thank our viewers, our players for giving us all this opportunity and allowing us to stream for you here tonight. Now we'll go ahead and get to the fun stuff because we do have, I believe, draft number one ready to come up pretty soon here.
Yeah, pretty soon. We're just sort of getting everyone all situated together. And of course, like it's something that for both these teams, just looking at today, you're really wanting to aim for that upset here for IWU. Like we sort of told with their narrative for today for Colombia is that they want to be that planted flag and sort of that resurgence back into the upper echelons of collegiate, where IWU could play that upset and could possibly be the underdog in this entire story to sort of come back and really blow a reckoning and then knock out Columbia College in the semifinals, which is what they've mostly been falling to in these or like in these later years, especially for Colombia, they've been having rough goes on the finals and semis and just have really been a fickle sort as of late. And IWU could continue that trend. So it's really a question of if that will come into fruition or if Colombia's narrative has finally got to the point where they are like at that point to compete in like a new Shonen Jump style anime, right? Like you're at that new level, it's a new season, and then punch that one through.
Well, we'll see what they can do to make that one happen as we do have the first round of bans pretty much winding itself down now as Wesleyan does lock out the Senna there. A lot of bot lane focus. They
Yeah.
don't want Yumi, Aphelios, or Senna, so really trying to come in and punch Columbia College, where it hurts. CC, on the other hand, on the blue side, did opt for more solo lane focus, getting the Mordekaiser Syndra Gangplank off the table and denying Ornn by extension of first picking it.
Yeah, so this is something where you want to put Misty Jumpy on that on that solitary lane, but the thing is you can argue that this is a flex pick. You could say that maybe Toy Soldier has a thing or two up his sleeve, and they're throwing in for an Orange support or Orange mid. So there's a lot of places for him to go. He's not really been taken out of the meta just yet. There's not like any number pad stats for him, so it allows IWU to say, all right, let's take the winning bottom lane. Let's take a possible like favorable jungle matchup and then look into banning out the rest of what CC has yet to offer.
Well, Columbia College, they're really going for these solo lanes early on here. You can see the bot lane pickup of Thresh Misfortune out of Wesleyan. They want to find
Mm,
that one. I like seeing D3 Amos come in on this Thresh. We saw him play
true.
a phenomenal Blitzcrank, just the most aggressive thing you'd ever seen, right, in that series against Stony Brook. So I like that he's
Yeah.
picking a champion with some versatility, but aggression kind of being the underlying point there. Meanwhile, the solo lanes for Columbia, not worried about counter picks, not worried about showing off too much early. They just want the strength. So they pick up Ornn and Zoe early, and now picking into a Nautilus before the next round of the bans. I mean, really, Columbia College, they're coming to make a statement.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's something that, seeing the Zoe ban, I kind of agree with it because of the fact that both Ornn and Zoe are top tier and can go into any singular matchup whatsoever. The set lock in, you can sort of bring some shady like eyes of worry towards Misty Stumpy because of the fact that you have the hard counter set will inevitably become like absolutely annoying to deal with as long as you have the kiting potential. But again, it's something where Columbia College, they have the confidence to go into these sort of neutral lanes and then have that investment for Andy Bendy and Toy Soldier to really just be that massive carry duo that they've been for this entire season. And they're set up for it. And IWU continues to ban them out. Everything that they've thrown at them is from the bottom side bans. And I don't expect anything else. Like you see, the Callista is gone. Yasuo is the only one that you could argue is not targeted to them, which to me tells that they've run out of ideas and it leaves a lot open for Columbia College to possibly try and pick up.
Yeah, I mean, you have such a bot lane focus. Yasuo does seem a little bit out of place there, unless you were just expecting something really strange with either Ornn or Yasuo running in the jungle. But really don't feel like
Yeah.
that fits with the way that Columbia has built this thus far. Now, the job in the fourth ban, I do like just to put a little bit of pressure on Swaggerus there. We saw him play a phenomenal J4. We saw him play a phenomenal Trundle as well. We
Hmm.
know that these are things that he can certainly pull out of his pocket and use both, I think, to a very effective manner there. So we'll see what he does decide to go with, as we do need the jungler and the solo lane, probably the mid most likely locked in here. I do believe that's most certainly just going to be a set top. And looks like with the rise pick, they'll actually save Swagger. So just a little one last card up the sleeve here.
Yeah, if you're going to go into this scenario, right, where Columbia College has a bunch of neutralizing lanes, they can try and fight for lane pressure at any situation at any point in time. Getting that counter matchup for the jungle is probably the best avenue of approach here for IWU. Like, yes, Ryzen said not winning or dominant lanes, but they have actual sort of argument to controlling the pressure of the lane, even if the wave is going against them to a fact. So you can also say, well, maybe they can switch lanes too. Ornn and Zoe might be a little bit of a hassle where Set and Rise, you can go back and forth fairly easily, especially with Rise's teleport and his ultimate going through. But it does mean CC Columbia will have to finalize their draft and leave at least one card open. That Pantheon lock in, it gives me a little bit of a troublesome sign, but it's not the worst situation for them locking that in for early advantage.
Very curious, yeah, now to see what they're going to respond with, because it was the jugglers that they waited to just bring to the very last moment here. And it looks like Illinois Wesleyan, 10 seconds left. Well, they're going to have to pick something up. The Maokai, interestingly
Mm.
enough, here for Swagger. So that's going to be a new one to see that come on through. I'm assuming likely that he won't be taking the set into the jungle, but
Yeah,
he
so
he very well
no
might.
set could be jungle. So the
He
thing is
certainly could.
Maokai Orn could definitely be the matchup because of the fact that he's been also slowly rising up through the ranks, has sort of gotten to that point with the Sunfire Cape buffs, especially to be just absolutely dominant in that top lane, and it gets to that point where because of that counter matchup, you say, all right, well, Pantheon might be able to get a lot of pressure onto set. He's not going to have a lot of escapes, and Orn has a lot of lockdown. If they force something early and you shut down set, it's just so much trouble for him to actually try and get back into the game. And now it sort of turns that away of saying, okay, now we have a Maokai for even additional lockdown. So our 2v2 is just as good as yours in that top end of the map, where you look at the bottom side, it's fairly still in the advantage of IWU just because of that Thresh will provide just a little bit more utility in the later ends, especially around those level 4, level 5 trades.
I'm curious to see. Yeah, the power spiking point is going to be so important too, because we saw Illinois Wesleyan in the games that we do have against Stony Brook kind of play a very commanding game number one, where they did take just every single advantage early game, never give a single bit, never relent on any bit of ground, fight everywhere they
Yeah.
could, and really, scratch out, claw a bloody mess of a win, and to do it quite well. This time, they're certainly poised for that with the composition they've drafted, but they're not as afraid, I think, to just play a little bit longer here with the Maokai on your team, with the Rise on your
Hmm.
team. You're not as confined to these live and die power spikes that you can really kind of build that a much slower way. The risk for that is that you have to put a cap on Rovex if you're going to let that happen. You cannot let Zoe
Yes.
roam around the map and just, you know, free feed off of every single lane. And that requires, I think, a lot of team presence of mind, warding, and just great league fundamentals that we're going to really see now pushed to the test here for Illinois Wesleyan.
Yeah, I'm gonna be waiting just a little bit longer until it gets fully locked in for Chromedex and Pyswaggers to actually like choose which champion they want. They were dancing around a little bit in the actual champion select, so we still don't know where Maokai or Set is going to go. I still would argue that Maokai is going to that top lane. His clear is not that great in the jungle at this time, and it's something where you look at what Set could do in the jungle with Predator and just him straight running at you in any of these lanes. The direct answer, like you mentioned, Corvus, is the fact that you are going for that hard engage. You need to get your claws around the throat of Columbia College if you have a chance at dealing with Rovex's Zoe. So at any point in time, that is really the answer to do so, and it is going to be Maokai Set top, which mean well Maokai top Set jungle, excuse
Sure.
me, as it is going to be a very slow and obnoxious lane in that top end. Now it's all diverted into his bottom side.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and tell our cameraman not to pan up the top lane unless
Yeah, don't worry about
we'll
it.
just react if a kill happens, but we're gonna assume it doesn't, right? No, no, no. He's a very good observer. He doesn't miss a single thing. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna miss about 2 minutes or so, 2.5 of this spectator delay. We're gonna toss it over to break now. Of course, before we do that, we of course want to shout out our wonderful sponsors, GameStop and HyperX. GameStop has been doing a lot for us all season long. A lot of cool games coming out. If you are inclined to pick up new Animal Crossing or Doom or anything fun like
Three
that,
days.
yeah, very soon. I got my eye on that one. GameStop.com/esports for everything they're doing in the esports scene right now. That they have put a cap on the weeklies. That is all wrapped up, but surely there's more to come in that regard. Shout out to HyperX as well, our peripheral sponsor. HyperX has been helping us out on the back half of the season here, and we want to give a huge thank you to them. If you do need a new peripheral, mouse, keyboard, or anything kind of in that gaming sphere, the set, headset, anything in that echelon, please consider HyperX, because some of that does go towards keeping the CSL online. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a quick break coming up. And when we come back, we'll have game number one. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us through the break. We are here, game number 1, Columbia College on the blue side, Illinois Wesleyan on the red side. I will introduce CC. That's going to be Misty Stumpy in the top lane. Nintendude running in the jungle. Former pro, you may know the name. Rovex in the mid lane. Andy Bendy coming on to the ADC scene. And Toy Soldier in the supporting role.
Yeah, and on the right right side there, red side,
Both
is going to
correct.
be it's going to be Illinois Wesleyan University. Chomdax on that top side with Maokai, Pyswagris, seeing if he could peek out Nintendude in that jungle. Best Ken in Asia was there to help him out in the mid, and Cat or Kats, if whichever you like, in that ADC role with D3 Amos on that Thresh, which I'm really wanting to look at how this Thresh is going to be played between Amos, right? Like, he's already getting invaded right now, Andy Bendy, seeing if you could check him out. But it's something where he could determine the level 2 so quickly if he's able to find an advantage, get some damage onto Andy or even Toy Soldier, and sort of create that dominance, just sort of like how Rovex did there. It's something where you could determine the entirety of the next 15 minutes of the game.
Well, it certainly looks like they're trying to establish that ground game early here. Do like to see the aggression coming out. Columbia College, they're not a team that's known for being particularly passive. They always are trying to be in that driver's seat over every lineup they've ever had, every player that's ever been on the roster. I feel like that quality has shown well through, and that's either a testament to their recruiting or their coaching to either find, and I really don't know which it is, but whichever deserves.
Let's say both.
Yeah, because that is a difficult culture to instill sometimes, but Columbia has managed to do it time and time again here. Very curious. Yeah. Now, this mid lane is really one thing I love about Best Ken in Asia. One thing I want to talk about is that this account is, I think, ranked Iron 4, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have ranked to go off of here, but we know he's a monster, right?
Yeah, in this timeline, that could be Iron 4 TFT, like, for all we know. Like, it could really just be that because, he's decided not to play any ranked this season because 2020 is a weird year, and I would not put it past him if he didn't. So that is, though, not in the game, and something for me where just looking at the Rise matchup singularly for Zoe in this game, it's something where you could actually just pop off as Zoe. Because I'm really worried to see how well he's actually going to be able to throw out that damage. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble, yes, will help you out. But there is the Cleanse on Rise, which means you could just you could possibly bait him out. I feel like if you want to make the play, and Best Cannon Asia wants to be Best Cannon, he baits out the Zoe Sleepy right when Pyswagris is going in, and you get that clutch down. But hold on, Chomdax.
Ooh, yeah, mercy me. Look at that, just picking it up so nice and clean for Misty, Stumpy, and Nintendude. What a gank. Executed very well on. And they brought up Rovex, didn't need him. Didn't get the assist, doesn't matter. He's not losing too much on the CS front from this. So really well played, executed attack by Columbia College.
Yeah, and going back, we'll have Nintendude X seeing if you could possibly catch, besides actually not to, and just getting the Rift Scuttle on that top side. And Ashley's going to be able to grab some chickens as well. So he's going to be able to catch up and actually get fairly far ahead of his counterpart of Pyswagris. So now at that stage, your question is, okay, so Set already a little bit of an awkward jungle. His clear is pretty quick, yes, with the Haymaker. But if you fall behind, you're still very dependent on your actual stats from your items to deal a brutish amount of damage later on. So if you run into Nintendude X, which he might hear in just a minute, this duel does not go well for IWU.
No, certainly not. And Wesleyan, they need to be on their toes because they really don't need to fall too much further behind this one. A Pantheon, something that get rolling very early. Do like the degree to which they're playing on their toes. Just trying to be careful with this one. Don't want to give it up. Don't want to lose the Krugs. Don't want to have to concede any of that. And so props to Wesleyan for playing at the edge of that, being careful, not overcommitting for any of it either, because I do think that probably defused in the best possible way for them just now.
Yeah. And, at this point, Tronback's like getting these trades in. He's struggling so much from Misty Stumpy. Like, look at how much health Misty has over him just because he can sit in lane and just shop for free. So it comes to a question of now, do you start to divert your assets to this bottom lane, get Kotz and D3 Amos online and ahead of Andy to where you get that priority of dragon control, get the infernal, and then sort of continue to push into this bottom end? Or do you actually try and reassert that resource to make sure that Chomdax does not constantly have this problem where he's at a third health under turret and is within lethal range if Nintendo Dex ever decides to put his eyes up there? So you're in this little pickle here where the actual entire map priority is completely dependent on if Nintendo decides to continue to invest in the top side, or if Pythagoras decides to move down faster and get some more aggression and presence in this bottom lane, as I already see a little bit of trouble there
Bottom lane.
for our boy.
Yeah, they're trying to get out of this one, but meanwhile, it could be the jungle that's having the most difficulty. Pythagoras trying to run out of that one. Saves the blast cone for himself, but just hands it on over to the side of Columbia College, who will gleefully deny it here, get some vision around this Infernal Drake for themselves, decide if they do want to kind of make that an early priority. And Nintendo, he says, yeah, sure, what do I have to lose? We know we forced the jungle back. We know Kotz is most likely backing as well. This one's pretty free. And
Yeah.
so I'm surprised he's actually not getting bot lane help.
Yeah, no bot lane help. Well, you don't really need it, especially with Pantheon. His damage is just so good, and as well as with the sustain from his passive as well, he can keep up some pressure, no problem, no questions asked. So grabs that one free of charge, especially when no one's down here. Grabbing the Infernal Drake does mean that this initial burst coming in from both Nintendo's Pantheon and Misty Stealthy is even so much more like horrific to deal with as Chomdax. Now, I'd say for CC, get into that level 6 range for Nintendo and just kill this tree over and over. Just obliterate him nonstop, because once you get that and you get Misty Stumpy online, then you can roam wherever you want and you can start a team fight at any point in time. And it not only creates that presence of being able to always create that fight, it also means that no one's going to try and get on top of you, because they're not going to be able to fight back. They're not going to be able to do enough damage to really thwart you from stepping over that line.
Now it's a period of reevaluation for the side of Wesleyan here. They do have some ions that are starting to heat up for them, mostly this Rise in the mid lane, around 65, almost 70 CS now for himself, and only going to get better at farming here. Meanwhile, Call of the Forge got not so good for this set, trying to turn this one back around, though they do want to get into the middle of things, but Pythagoras already taken down. Now Rovex trying to get into the rest on the best cannon Asia. He's over the wall, 3 members. Rovex still on the chase. Blast Cone is there. This is going to be close. I don't know if he makes it. They both know. They both take the Blast Cone, but it's just best cannon over the wall, and he buys some time. Meanwhile, though, Chomdax jumping in, trying to save the day, may have just signed his own death warrant. This could just be tricky. I think he might be tanky enough to run it back, but the flash going to be just what he needs at the edge there to get him out safely. And whew, well, Wesleyan, they're lucky that didn't go worse.
Yeah, that was very disastrous for Wesleyan, and Columbia College just gaining more and more pressure, especially with the perfectly timed Rift Herald coming up, so they can go ahead and grab that one, no problem. So it sort of shows that Columbia has tempered their blade and their timing towards these neutral objectives to constantly have the upper hand in any situation. And it was a perfect example too, because of how huge Nintendo to Miss Stumpy are. But, you know,
we got to fight in the bot lane. They want to get in on Andy Bendy. He already finds D3, but he will trade back now. Pythagoras finds the kill for that one. Toy Soldier, well, he's on the run. I don't think they can do too much to take out the tanky Nautilus, though. He should be all right.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to go back. You do get the kill, yes, but it does go on Pythagoras, which means you're going to have a little bit of that awkward trough for Cats, who's still struggling in this bottom side. Like, you only have the BF sword to the Manamune right now. You could go back, and you don't even have enough to grab your Infinity Edge or your Essence Reaver just yet. So still have a while to go before you're able to grab your items. You could say, hey, well, let's just go and get something else, but, you know, Cats just took a beating from Toy Soldier in that bottom side. Nautilus just whacked him away, said, get off my farm, go back to your base, heal up, and just make the most of what gold you have now, which, sitting at 1100,
this is dangerous, but there it is, the bullet time, not going to be enough. Andy Bendy coming through, finding the kill, but certainly going to die for this one at least. D3 Amos, well, he picks it back up, but that's a trade you'll take any day if you're the Kaisa. Maybe not a Toy Soldier, guys, though. Is he going to get this one off? Are you kidding me? Right under tower. Oh, my goodness. What a stopwatch. Just like that, D3 Amos big braining all over this bottom lane.
Yeah, that was perfect. Perfectly timed. He's going to get the achievement on that one. And now you get some turret plating as well to boot, and no depths coming in on your bottom side. This is perfect for what they need to do, converting into this early to mid game stage. Get a massive lead onto Cats and D3 Amos. Swagger sure is reaping a lot of the rewards as well. But, you know, the sour taste is all of that gold is on top of D3 right now. Like, yes, Thresh absolutely dominating. Will he get like a Gargoyle Stone Plate quicker? Maybe, but he went with a Glacial Shroud instead as Nintendo Dex thwarts Best King in Asia away from his mid lane, as now you have a small timer coming in for the next dragon. It will be just about a minute until this Mountain Drake spawns, which is where Columbia College is going to be setting their eyes once more. And you have Teleport with Misty Stumpy at the ready. All they need to do is hit the go button.
One thing I do want to touch on too here in the topic of go buttons is that mid lane little soiree we just saw there. Nintendo did burn the Grand Starfall for that. That's that's just shy of a 3-minute cooldown at this level. So that's going to be dangerous. D3 Amos, though, pulling Toy Soldier and says, I will show you the danger. Nintendo, though, he wants it. He's off in the side of things trying to get where he's going. Andy Bendy just doing the damage. Not taking aggro. Cats has gone low already. Do they find it? Rovex says certainly as he strolls in and immediately out. They do find Andy Bendy, though, just on the edge of that one. And so it's a 1-for-1 trade. Both ADs going down.
Oh, hold on, Beskinen.
Ooh, yeah, this could be dangerous for Nintendo. He is taken out, and that's a nice kill over to the Rise. Right as we start praising the aggression of Columbia College, they get burned on it twofold.
Yeah, and that was really just an overstep from them, calculating, you know, not having the best math on it, too. Because the fact that you went for that dive, and you already had that massive D3 Amos Thresh who was able to cause so much peel and so much chaos. And yes, you were able to get Cats, but everywhere else you had low members, and it just loses all pressure that you invested to gain and that on that side. So you've got that dragon loss. Is not terrible, but it's something where now this could come back to bite you later on for this next mid-game conversion. So next few minutes, look for where Swaggers is going to be working around Best Ken in Asia, and if Nintendo Dex can sort of brush off that mistake with Rovex and then sort of reciprocate and just be faster on the draw with his picks.
Oh, they want to get onto this one by Swaggers. He's going to try to set this one up. The bullet time is there, but his health bar is low. Misty Stumpy trying to get out of this one as well. Toy Soldier's doing what he can, but he may be separated here. Do they bring in Nintendo? There's the Pantheon coming down. Health bars aren't great. Rise nowhere to be found. And D3 Amos was going to pop the box, but he may just be buried in it. Does he get out of this? Maybe just buying the time. He is on the ward. He certainly will die, but not before trying to throw out a desperation hook that does not land. Rise, where in the world are you, man? You can't just run back to the mid lane.
Well, this is just terrible news right now for IWU. The Rift Turtle comes in. This is going to be first turret for sure, but it's all a question of what else can IWU sort of regain and cut their losses from. Rovex constantly being on the pressure, almost taking down Chomdax, which now with so many low members, where else are you going to be able to actually try and find a reply? They're constantly going to beat down on this bottom side. They're going for the second turret. Might as well take
on this.
Yeah, they might. No, I don't think they're going to be able to get the answer, though. Yeah, no, they're not going to get that one. They're going to call it off. Go and retreat. This is perfect because now you're at this stage where next Rift Herald is going to be 1 minute and 40 seconds. Go back, reset, grab some items. You have 2,600 gold on Rovex for all I care. So finish up whatever you want, and then get priority in that top side to once again have the Herald to create that pressure once more and maybe have just as great of a success.
You know, it looked a little bit back and forth topsy-turvy for Columbia at first. I mean, they gave up really the advantage they had in kills. The gold was brought immediately back to even right off of that last engage just around the Mountain Drake that they ended up losing to Illinois Wesleyan as well. 5-manning the bot lane worked so well for them, and it looked like the disengage options were there for the likes of Wesleyan, but just didn't hold out. And you got to be thinking, okay, yeah, I'm buying time for Rise to get in. Well, Best Cannon never showed up, and granted, it was a tough one to probably pull himself into, just running at the back of the team like that. But to allow them to separate you with that kind of rotation, the fight was over before it started.
Yeah, of course. And it's like once that separation happened, there's no way that IWU is able to with that one. So at this, it's sort of seeing what they can do to sort of counteract Columbia College's movements.
Ooh, not
And
good for Best
ooh,
Cannon. That's rough. It's going to follow you through the flash, my dude. But Toy Soldier's going low by Swaggerus. He may have walked himself into a really troubling situation. He does have D3 Amos. That's a flash on the Rovex, trying to get out of that one. Chomdex, well, he's just a big old beefcake for the front line there. And miraculously, after all that engage, well, no one's died yet. But Columbia College, they're not through looking.
no, yeah, they're going to keep on the pressure. They have the health bars. They have the poke to deal with anything that IWU is going to try and throw at you. All this hard engage, and they're not even able to get close to use it for this for this attempt for a turnaround. And now things coming out for the Rift Herald, going to take it no problem, as that all that pressure is in Columbia's hands, as now going into this 15, almost now 16-minute game. Only question in my head is, what is IWU learning from this to possibly use in this series? Because, you know, they are the underdog. They are the ones that are trying to see if they can upset this powerhouse that is Columbia College, who's gone through and only dropped a single game in their season.
Mercy. Well, you do it with this mid laner that's CSing so well. Best Kennen, he's got the tools at his disposal, but he's just really not popping off that well thus far. Now, granted, the exchange like that last one where Toy Soldier, well, he's going to burn a flash just to stay on top of him. He's going to burn the ultimate, make sure that the depth charge does come down. No one can get out of that. Best Kennen doesn't have a chance. So they're keeping a good cork on him, but he's still farming well in spite of that. So if they can avoid losing too much infrastructure with this Rift Herald, certainly going to take this tower at least, maybe more.
Okay, this is gone. Well, look at where the members are for IWU. They're not. Why? Sure, Tom Dax is on the turret. Yes, you have Cats there, but you've got 2 members out of the 5, and you still have Best Ken in Asia split pushing. Not going to be even like. I don't even think he's going to be able to get 2 turrets or even 1. And now you're losing Dragon priority as well. So it's a commendation to Columbia for being on this on this strategy 5 steps, if not 10 steps ahead of IWU throughout this entire game. And IWU is just trying and scrambling to keep up with the pace.
Yeah, it's twice now we've seen Best Kennen prioritize. It's just pushing a tower in lane, a tier 1 tower, mind you.
Is he going to be able to
in
get the
lane.
second? I don't even know.
I don't think so. Not even close. No.
Yeah.
He sneezed on it. But either way, he's run that down now twice. It didn't work the first time. I saw nothing to lead me to believe it would work the second time. He took the tower, but think about what you lost. Even if it's just a 1-for-1 tower trade.
Oh no! Wait, hold on.
Drake.
Did he get caught?
Oh,
I think he did.
Maybe. Yeah, this is tough. He's gonna have a hard time getting out of this one. He still can run up, but the Zoe, that's gonna be the tough part for him. Does teleport right out. That's a costly ultimate, but worth it in this instance.
Yeah, it's okay. The cooldown timer on that is pretty ridiculously small. Like, you don't even have to deal with it. It's just get out, play safe, don't int, because you're the only one on your team that has a bounty at all. Sure, it's going to be a 2-minute cooldown, but at this point, just cut your losses where you can, because you are around, what is it, 4? No, about 3,000 gold down, which, as a matter of fact, like, feels pretty nice for IWU, the fact that they're only 3,000 down, but it's on those crucial members in this bottom side. It's like almost a 2,000 gold difference between Cats and Andy Bendy, and you do not want that, especially against a Kaiser who can just tear your team apart.
Dex now try to be the front line for his team, but without the tower here, this does become dangerous. Zoe over the wall can punish you so aggressively. D3 Amos, speaking of aggression, doesn't want to follow that one up. The tower certainly on death row for this one. Andy Bendy's going to make that one happen for himself here, and Columbia still moving as a unit. Not exactly the response you want to see yet from Wesleyan, who have yet to really group up, make this one happen. Now, if they can catch out Toy Soldier, well, that's a start. It's a lot of engage. Does throw down the ultimate, try to dredge line out, and no way he gets out of this one. You're joking. He just walks right out. Chomdex going quite low. Here comes Call of the Forge guy. What can they make happen out of this? Flashed right over, but Chomdex going to get flashed in on by Nintendo. He wants to find that. He will get hooked up now by the death sentence, but they have the damage. Does the bullet time make it happen? Cat says yes. Now Drowsy, though. Andy Bendy, can you make anything happen off of this one? You've got so much damage, but so many people after you, and a hook seals the deal. Best Kennen picks up a second kill for himself just there. And we're back to 7 apiece on the board, whittling the gold lead down just a little bit. Another tower going to the credit of Columbia College, but a fight won, if only in spirit, by Illinois Wesleyan.
Yeah, that's definitely a win in morale, and saying, okay, cool, we can actually, if we are able to get Best Ken in Asia and Cats in the same fight, we can start doing some damage. We can tear apart at the members and the front line of Columbia. And You know, you seeing Nintendo X, well, like, just get obliterated that quickly, pretty darn concerning if you ask me. But the thing is like when you take it all in hindsight, you look at how that fight started. It was because Toy Soldier got caught out. He wasn't able to use a lot of the tools that he had available. So it means that they were playing a 4v5 and had how close that 4v5 was. You got to admit that is still a little bit of a concern there for IWU that they've got a ways to go until they're really on par with Columbia in these fights.
Oh, certainly. And now it is an uphill battle, right? You've got the kills trading back and forth and some things feeling okay there, but it's kind of been at maximum effort from this Illinois Wesleyan side, right? It almost feels like if D3 Amos doesn't hit the fight-changing hook, the fight doesn't change, right?
Yep.
It feels like he's the one that they're really relying on to make this happen. And most of that, you know, it's kind of a low-fault situation for Illinois Wesleyan here, as we see if they're just going to
get the
they want the
turret
tower.
back out.
Yeah, just get the tower. That's the right call. But I'd say it's a low fault situation, right? We saw Chomdex. He's got to just be using most of those cooldowns pretty aggressively, just trying to be where he needs to on the front end of this thing. But yeah, we got a Baron starting up now, and that is the bigger picture here. This could be bad. D3 Amos doing what he can, wants to find it. There's the hook, brings it right in onto the box, forces the flash on out of that one. It's low, but it's not low enough, and the Baron does go down now, favoring Columbia. That's going to be now at least a pickup off to the Zoe. Can you find more out of this one? Have to be careful. Best Kennen, that is a dangerous move, my friend, and he will lose his life for it. The shutdown comes through, but they will at least find Toy Soldier a consolation prize at the least. Andy Bendy, though, picking up by Swaggerous, leaving only Chomdex a survivor, and the Baron going to Columbia.
That was an insane bait there from Columbia. They knew all the members were down there on that bottom side. They make the call. They grab the Baron, and a perfect harass there from Rovex as well, zoning out those members of IWU and making sure that really there was no sense of security at all for their opponent and being able to take it down. And of course, you know, Misty Stumpy grabbing a kill for himself on top of that, you know, as tanks do at this point. It's just all gears Columbia, as really it's just a matter of time before IWU's turtle shell really does start to crumble and break and lose inhibitors.
Well, Baron's a great way to start that process off, right? And maybe Amos and Cat still feeling a little bit strong about this one. They want to turn it back. They want to find it, but it's just not enough. The hook's being traded back and forth. Nobody committing here, but the sleep now onto D3. That's the big one. Lantern doesn't get by Swaggerous out of this one. I think it just might. Do they have the disengage? Do they have the turnaround? Because here comes the flank. They want to find it, but this may have been just an overcommit from Chomdex. Is it enough? Toy Soldier, well, he's quite low. They've been chipping at it. It's a 1-for-1 thus far. Can they find more? Wesleyan, they're going in for it. They're going for broke. Misty Stumpy, though, punching it right back. Means that by Swaggerous is going to go down now. D3 Amos as well in some real trouble, and Andy Bendy just barely staying alive to make it happen. And they lose one, but they take five, baby. That is the ace coming up Columbia.
And this is the nail in the coffin for Columbia. That fight was the final statement to say, we overpower you, we dominate you. And with this massive gold lead and this immense composition of Nintendo, Rovex, and Andy Bendy all having 5 kills apiece, they're going to be walking themselves towards this base, but you know, actually decide to reset instead and say, you know what, let's play it patient, let's play it safe. We want a perfect and we want a cleaner game than what IWU has been able to grab, so let's play it slow and not give any sense of hope over to the members of Illinois.
I mean, they're sitting on, Lord help me, 3.2k now gold for Andy Bendy. I believe it was over 2,000 just now spent for Rovex. Nintendo, a cool 1,700 in his pocket as well. Certainly just back off, take the buy, come in, and close this thing out clean as they come. The minions in the mid lane, they're going to buy you all the time you need. Now, this top lane, they got the vision up there already. The Wave's in a decent position to pressure out. I think this is going to be likely the next target, but they may just, hey, run it down bot. Why worry about top if it's good lane pressure for us already?
Right, like, what's really the point for them at that time? Like, you get the bottom lane, take that, go through, no questions asked, completely obliterate them. Like, at this stage now, there's really nothing stopping Columbia from taking whatever they want outside of really going for a blind balderdash to the Nexus and just disregarding every scenario that IWU throws at them to stop them. Like, that is the only way that Columbia College actually throws at this point. So being just underneath an 8,000 gold lead you got to be feeling great for yourself. And with the amount of pressure that Andy is going to be able to just provide at tearing apart this front line of Chomdax and Pyswaggers, my only question is, what is the time limit? What's going to be that final timestamp before IW's Nexus falls?
It's coming close. It does certainly feel that way. They're just trying to make the last-ditch stand now for Wesley, and they want to find it in this Missy Stumpy, who they want to get it onto. They burn a lot for him, but they do take it out. No one dead yet, but this does not look good for the one and only Pyswagger as he does go down. And the fadeaway hook coming in. Toy Soldier looking big, but he'll lose his life to Best Kennen for it. So just like that, the stall works out. It's a 1-4-2, and they take away 2 critical members of Columbia, but you can't get caught like that. Rovex sealing the deal on D3 Amos, and that's going to be a painful 30 seconds. Oop.
All right. Well, just itch it out, play it safe, but it does mean that the pod's coming in. It's a ping issue. I don't blame him, man. Like you said earlier, we're making sacrifices for this game and for this league. So whether it's crappy internet, whether it's a little bit of hiccups here and there, you just got to deal with it and come on through when you can. So play it patient, but it does allow both of these teams a little bit of time to sit back and get to that sort of fence sitting position of seeing this game and the sort of this series from outside of the box and outside of the arena and looking, hey, what can we do to clean this game and close it out and close out this series for Columbia or for IWU? How can we turn this back around to where the momentum is in our favor?
I mean, it's really tough at this point for IWU. Yeah, looking at this first game, you're pretty much mentally saying, all right, yeah, we're very down in gold. They don't have the exact numbers, but for everyone at home that can't see the screen, it's roughly 8K gold in the hole here. 25 minutes, almost 26, and their base is effectively in shambles. You start to talk about game number 2 at this point. You just say, okay, all we need to do is ban this one thing. Hey, let's make sure that Rovex can't get onto the Zoe. We put a lot just trying to contain Andy Bendy, right? And I mean, what was it? 4 marksman bans at the time there. He's still sitting 5, 4, and 9. Like 70 CS up on his opponent. Yeah, we're back in. We got it. Here we go. So yeah, he's still sitting 70 CS above his opponent. You're really not going to keep him in that much of a cage. Maybe just throw one of those bans away. I say throw away in quotes. Put it back onto Rovex. Get the Zoe out of here. And try to do a better job at making sure you're playing defensively in lane, that Nintendo can't get some of these earlier offsetting ganks that did work so well for Columbia. Because it seems like small adjustments that might give Illinois Wesleyan the closer edge.
I think it's really, for me, it's just don't have that that early game that happened, right? Like the fact that yes, the Zoe is bad, it could have gone better, but it wasn't really the champion that scares me. It's more the fact that they allowed these roams to happen and that Pyswaggers is just so far behind, right? And it's I think that's where that problem is. The fact that Set Jungle has not provided the pressure that they needed. Sure, team fights are cool. Sure, he can do a bunch of damage, but it's not what you need out of the jungler, especially in this situation where you need someone to constantly be contesting. And even though it did come in as a flex pick,
testing 2 flashes in. Pyswaggers very low, and Nintendo rampages back onto that one to make it happen for himself. Rovex unstoppable, stopping the bullet time right as it goes. Best Kennen, he's gonna fall right asleep on the job here in the brush, and that's the double kill. Chomdex on the run for his life, but there's just no way. The lantern from downtown maybe providing a will there for themselves, just trying to make it happen, but I don't see this one really going anywhere but the grave now for the likes of Illinois Wesleyan. They're just trying to buy some time, but it is the base in shambles. It is Columbia taking out the towers, and Chomdex, but while he's barely staying alive, he will finally fall to this one. I'm just sure of it. And maybe not. Maybe he's just going to run all the way out, making me eat my words right here.
He's
finally
chunky.
does go down. Now the Nexus, the only thing left. Columbia College, they're finally going to put a cork in this. They're finally going to take game number 1, and they're going to look good doing it.
Yeah, a beautiful game there from Columbia College, especially in the early game. The mid game, a little bit rough, but it's just the rust coming off and just preparing for this series. And it was all really that powerhouse that was Nintendo Dex and Rovex just doing exactly what they needed to do: roam in, get some early advantages, get that shutdown onto Chondax, where Misty Stumpy had no problem just absolutely dominating that lane. And it all comes to that factor for me. If you want a room for improvement for Illinois Wesleyan, set totally fine as a champion, but the jungle position was a little bit of a hiccup for them. So you could always pressure that one out. And these teams, they have multiple um compositions that they have in their sleeves and in their books. So for me, the first game experimenting with something like this at jungle isn't really that bad of a call. So it just brings it down to where you have to completely sweep them and go 2-0 no matter what. But if it is any of a time, that time was now.
Certainly the case. And now we are going to let the players take just a little bit of a breather break. Let them reset for game number 2, decide what they need to change here on the side of Illinois Wesleyan and what was good but could have been better for Columbia College. Everyone's going to be coming away with some notes on this one, I'm sure. When we come back after a short break, we will have game number 2, seeing if Columbia College can punch their ticket on through or if Illinois Wesleyan can hope to stop them in their tracks, staunch the bleeding, and bring us to a game number 3. We'll be right back.
Cool.
From the heat wave stole my emotions. I left my doubts when I was swept by the ocean, and every pulse from the tide was a finish line. A wave race we were made to ride. You and I were first in line, and we took them by surprise. I was with you all the time. You may not realize, but I'm here. I hear you loud and clear. When we get lost in our own minds, you'll be keeping me near. I painted skies that left my mind. They were your design. I followed roads that won't take me home, but lead me to your side. There is a burning in the clouds. Take a deep breath in and step out from among those crowds. Let the feeling of realization in that I'm here. I hear you loud and clear. When we get lost in our own minds, you'll be keeping me near. You'll be keeping me near.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us through the break here. And now we are with some eager players already into the pro
Yeah.
draft for game number 2. It's good for me, good for my voice, makes Coco's job just a little bit harder. Speed run us through what's happened.
Okay, well, first thing I gotta say is that just because this game is going super fast and we're already through the draft, it gives me a little bit of concerns. But we'll get to those emotional morale points later on because we've got a lot to break down. Just for context, we do have the Orin gone, Sindra gone, Mordekaiser gone, and that is, yes, a no ban there for Columbia College. They're sort of giving IWU a freebie on that one, saying, you could pick something up if you'd like. Um, they also have another thing as well, which that Riven is not a Riven. No, we're not going to be able to see Misty Stumpy dominate on that. It is a Janna, which to me, I'd rather have seen the Riven, but I
Yeah.
am glad to see a Jace as well. So already, Columbia College's composition, I'm looking at it, and you're saying, okay, wherever Jace is going to go, that is where Nintendo Dex is going to set his sights on, and they're just going to absolutely roll over whatever lane that is going to provide, right?
Well, that's signature Stumpy too. Jace,
Yeah.
he's so good on that champion. So I'd be shocked if that's not top lane.
Yeah, well, the Janna, like the Janna in there, sort of gives me an inkling that it might be Janna top because of it being so popular right now. Because if you look at what IWU has, you have the Gangplank, sure, in the top side, and I think that is the argument, right? Like that's where Jace would go, and it just diverts excuse me, Janet to the bottom side. So with that Victor locked in, it does secure it, and it does let us all know that yeah, Misty Stumpy is going to be playing that Jace, and Rovex will be on his most preferred Victor as well. So this is perfect comfort picks for Columbia College, and IWU has this super invested late game like composition that I am really worried for because their late game, or like not their late game, their early game is
Punishable.
absolutely sluggish. It is so sluggish.
Yeah, certainly some room for them to get beat up on a little bit there. You would expect to see. So we're curious now whether or not Illinois Wesleyan have learned to just slow things down a little bit, can play kind of a more calm game for themselves here and
Yeah,
not get too ahead of themselves. Now, what I do want to note is that a lot of what did kind of fall by the wayside for Illinois Wesleyan in the last game was them trying to play some of the catch up parameters of their own composition here. So they didn't feel like they would be as effective falling behind, or maybe they just got overzealous punishing the likes of
maybe.
Columbia College on some of those more aggressive Columbia pushes that we know that they like to make here.
Yeah.
Regardless, it did seem very opt in, I would say, for the likes of Illinois Wesleyan. And so if they can slow that down just a little bit, they have good tools at their disposal to do that. Gangplank Ultimate can slow a fight. Sejuani Ultimate, slow a fight. Azir Ultimate, Tower Passive. Guess what they can do? Slow fights. So I think there is, especially with the Tom Kents coming through as well, uh, a decent amount of ability there if they can execute on it properly.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of capability to provide that time, that additional time slot for them to just create damage and create pressure. And Azir and Gangplank are going to be perfect with that, especially when you have a Senate constantly providing that additional long range support from wherever she wants to be. But you look at over at the side of Columbia College, they have diving capability. They're totally fine with playing a spread out fight. They're even okay with a clumped up fight as well. So no matter the situation, there is a tool for Columbia to counter with or even provoke IWU to slip into their net. So for me, I like it's nice, it's pretty. I like Illinois' composition because it's great to look at, and when it pulls it off, you just feel so satisfied because the amount of damage they're able to throw out. But it's just concerning for me, this emotional morale that I was talking about earlier. The fact that you just rush straight into the second game. It feels like Illinois, it's either A, they know what they want to do and they just want to get straight to it. And they're like, all right, we learned our lessons from game one, let's go. Or it's something where they're like, all right, we're sort of at this point where we're okay to sit back. We're gonna just play it super safe because let's admit it, we're tilted, and let's just like get to the point where we're six items and then we can just throw ourselves at them and just destroy them with late game potential.
Well, very curious to see how that does manifest itself. Of course, before that, we do have the 3 minute spectator delay to chew through. Just comes with the territory of broadcasting live League of Legends online. And we're blessed to be able to do that. So we'll happily live with that. Take a quick break. Of course, before the break, we do want to give shout outs to our wonderful sponsors, GameStop and HyperX. You can find out everything you need to know about GameStop, gamestop.com/esports, what they're doing to kind of help CSL and the greater collegiate esports scene. And for HyperX, well, we'll get some footage here, self-explanatory. So with that, we'll throw it right over to break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 2.
I hear you loud and clear. When we get lost in our own minds, you'll be keeping me near.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us through the break here. We are now ready to get into game number 2. Same teams, different sides, meaning that's going to be on the blue side. Illinois Wesleyan, if you're just joining us, well, we'll shout them out again. Chomdax in the top lane, Pi Swaggerus coming through with the jungle theories. Best Ken in Asia in the mid lane. Cats and D3 Amos rounding out that bot lane.
And for Columbia College, who is also doing the safety spread, they will be Misty Stumpy in the top lane, Nintendude X in the jungle, Rovex in the mid, Andy Bendy in ADC or Marksman, whichever you want, and Toy Soldier on that Janna support. And you know, all these teams and all these names, get used to them because you're going to be seeing them a lot in collegiate once this whole mess of 2020 rolls over and we get back to normalcy. And especially with, I'd have to say, both of these mid laners, Best Ken in Asia and Rovex, I feel like you will be seeing them soon. You'll be seeing them a lot more often. So get accommodated, get friendly. And, you know, that's exactly what they're doing right now, getting some poke back and forth.
Certainly what they want to find for themselves. Columbia College, I got the momentum. They got the pressure, the fear power. Why not try to press that now of all times, especially against a composition like this on the side of Illinois Wesleyan? That, you know, it is going to be a slower ramp up. It is going to be one that's more susceptible to punishment early. Columbia are no strangers to that idea, and they're going to push it through. Very excited, I think, especially on a couple of these. Rovex on the Victor, always a pleasure to watch. Misty Stumpy on Jace, perhaps a signature champion if we could go that far. Very curious. But you see the aggression by which he's already staying right up in the face of Chomdax, not afraid of
Oh, hold on,
any.
Toy Soldier.
Yeah, he's
He's
a little
taking some
aggressive.
damage. That's actually not good. Like I was talking about how Illinois is playing a composition that can be punished so easily in the early stages. Like yes, the one that you could argue is the zoning pressure of Kench and Senna, who have insane objective zoning control. So they do have that upper hand, but once it gets to level 2, level 3, I really don't know if they're going to be able to keep massive pace with Andy Bendy, but oh my goodness, Toy Soldier forcing out the exhaust as well, going extremely low. This is such a bait because he's got biscuits to heal back up.
Oh man, and you can see D3 Amos taking all the pressure of that, and that's actually one thing I don't think we touched on, or maybe didn't cover as well as we should have there in the pick ban. But that is actually, yeah, Cats, the usual marksman on the Tom Kench, D3 Amos on the Senna. Now,
Okay.
supports, they're no stranger to Senna over the last few months. We've all gotten to know that, hey, you're the support, and you just need to play Senna a little bit. Um, let
This is
Cats get the
fasting
CS here.
Senna as
Yeah,
well. So
it is.
it's something where, just to sort of help clarify for people, because it's common in competitive play now. The fasting Senna is just to sort of amplify the soul
Oh,
farming capability of the champion. But ooh, Nintendo Dex, nice lockdown on that one.
yeah, came so close to just kicking the door down on by Swaggers. The flash there out of this one early is going to hurt, as well as having to now back on this one and just reset and start over.
Yeah, so go back, reset. Ooh, laser coming out does have to cause a little bit of a dodge here and there, but it is, again, it's something where looking at that bottom lane trade, you're like, okay, cool. Andy Bendy and Toy Soldier doing wonderfully for themselves, and it does mean that with that punishment, where does Pyswaggerus go? Like, you're forced out. Nintendo Dex took a couple of your camps once again. You're 12 CS to 21, and you also still have to deal with him walking into your bottom side. Speaking of, as a matter of fact, Cats does get ignited and is forced to flash away. So once
Yeah,
again, the advantage is in their side.
yeah, certainly had to be aggressive to get out of that one. Now backing under the tower just to try to reset this. We'll get back to base with no problems, despite the fact that we do currently have a lurking J4 just taking up the Scuttle Crab, popping the plant and moving right along. It is, of course, another Infernal Drake to start us off this time around, same as last game. We saw Columbia go for that fairly aggressively. Nintendo not on the Pantheon, but no reason to suggest that he would not try to chase this one down with every bit as much vigor.
Yeah, teleport coming in from Misty Stumpy does also mean that they're just going to double down on the special. Chomdak getting low. Can they get the kill?
Yeah, Pyswaggerus is here. They want to turn it back. Chomdak's quite low. He's got to be careful with this one, but they do find first blood, and it goes right over into the hands of Sigwan.
Perfect punishment. Yeah, they're able to get the teleport. Misty Stumpy gets that overconfident, and a wonderful gank coming in from Illinois Wesleyan. So now with a little bit of tilt, coming straight from a teleport and dying in your lane and having to walk back ever so slowly is a little leaves a sour taste in Misty's mouth. So now it's up to Nintendo to say, okay, now let's get some momentum back into our favor. Let's keep on grabbing some farm. I'm 33 to 17 right now. This is totally fine. Like, yeah, you lost the first blood over to Pyswaggerus, but if you keep counter jungling like this and getting this immense farm, that first blood is just going to be nullified out.
Yeah, certainly. It only takes a handful of CS to wash that one away. 25 or 30 for the specifics of first blood. Closer to 20 for a kill otherwise there. But meanwhile now, here in this bot lane, things starting to get a little bit stickier for Cats and D3 Amos. Andy Bendy wanting to be so aggressive on this. Keep D3 Amos fleshed up against the wall, but the eating Tom Kench pushes him back. There comes the exhaust down. Do they find enough to lock him down? Get the flash out. They want to follow through. They want to get it. What a tornado to stall. But Cats is there. Can he do anything? Is the body block from Toy Soldier that strong? And meanwhile, here's Nintendo. Are they really gonna turn this one? Columbia College, you can tell, is going to pull this one through. That is Andy Bendy finally going down, though. Illinois Wesleyan, they get one on the board, but man, is it just what a great cost.
But yeah, what is the question? Like, you lost a kill going over from Nintendo Dex and Toy Soldier as well. Yes, you get the kill onto Cats, but okay, topside gank as well. Hold on.
Yeah, they want to find Stumpy again. Looks like they're just going to camp him down. Chomdex gets that one for himself, free as can be, and they do answer back to keep the kill lead in their favor.
Yeah, okay, so that's a nice little reprieve. Like, you're able to, once again, get Misty Stumpy on the gray screen, and you're getting this huge lead on the Chonbacks now. 47 CS to 39. Yes, doesn't feel like much, but for Gangplank, it gives you like 600 extra gold just because of how Parlay works and how you're able to farm up that additional Silver Serpents in those minions. So losing the dragon, it being infernal, you can argue, and it's sort of from my philosophy as well, that Infernal Dragon is the worst one to have, or like the worst one to get just as a singular dragon, because it's only 4% bonus attack damage or ability power. So it's not immense. Yes, it's a little boost for things like Misty Stumpy, who is able to poke out early on, but you know, it's not something where I would be concerned at, especially when you have a late scaling team like Illinois has.
I don't see the fear coming out just yet from Illinois Wesleyan over losing that dragon, and they'll be happy to let it just kind of walk right away. Gold is all tied up. They're ahead in the 1 kill. CS is definitely where they need to make up most of this ground, and to Swagger's credit, he's actually done that, I think, quite well at this point. He was down 20-25 CS, now has brought that to sub 10 deficit already, despite the fact Nintendo did find a kill in the interim there with his little bit of a gank foray into the bot lane, if you can call it that. Really more of just a punish on the overextension, as Cats and D3 Amos did go for broke. Now, meanwhile, turret plates, that seems to be what they want to find, not realizing that, hey, look, the entire bot lane of Columbia College, well, they're just taking the Rift Herald. We'll run right up the top lane. We'll pop this immediately. We'll pop it early, and we're going to punish this thing immensely.
Yeah, but now you have the question of, okay, sure, you had the Rift Herald gone. They're going to be possibly dropping it. He's still holding on to it right now from what I'm seeing. But here comes Swagger's forcing the flash away from Robex as well. So now it's a comparison of, okay, how many turret plays is D3 Amos and Cat's going to get, and how many is Columbia going to be able to snag? And the thing is too, okay, there's the Herald drop. The thing is, like, how much gold are these players getting, right? Like, that's a lot of shared gold in that top side for Columbia. Yes, you get the first turret gold, but in a sense, it is a short-term investment because you're giving like a small burst of gold to multiple members to where they can get to that initial power spike and deal with it. But oh
man, look at that. Andy Bendy coming in huge on the misfortune to start this one. Nintendo low, but there's still a very angry MF with all the damage. D3 Amos picks it up though. Nintendo downtown, falling to the likes of the Senna, bringing them 1-1-1 on the scoreboard. Their little binary love. As now Chomdex,
Chomdex?
Jana just on the other side. Yeah, has to run all the way up. Is trying to get the Cats here. If he can get to the content, he'll be fine. That's what they want. But Cats, on the other hand, he just wants to keep pushing this. I don't know if he can buy enough time. Can you do it?
Yeah,
looks like just maybe. Victory. Everyone's out. Okay, I'm scratching my head a little bit at how this one turned out, but it worked.
What are you what are you fighting over right now? Like, this is the thing. Like, when these extended fights happen, like, you got the pick on the targets, cool, yeah, that's additional gold, and it's sort of that argument of, all right, well, we had that short-term investment of small bursts of gold onto multiple people to get to those power spikes a little bit faster, and then able to, like, finding the kill, great. But after that, why are you around? Like, you lost pressure on that top side. Go ahead, reset, use that gold that you were able to get from that situation, and then be able to be at the ready for these mid-game conversions of where your team is strongest, and Illinois has not yet overwhelmed you based off of their late game scaling.
Illinois doing more than just treading water at this point. Yes, they're down the tower. Well, maybe this could be the turnaround. Yeah, maybe I'm biting my tongue on this one. Cats doing what he can to hold off Nintendo, but just not going to be enough. Does find the first one. D3 Amos can't get the kill out either. That's another one down. No flash this time in the mid lane for Robex. And even though the teleport's coming in, are you kidding me? The stun holds them up. That's flashing right on through by Swaggerus. He wants it. He's going to get it, but does Stumpy turn this one back? He does take down Bez Kennan. Mercy me, I think they'll just back this one off, but nice recovery coming out from Columbia to not lose too much in that mid lane.
Man, now this, yesterday I was doing some, like, charity event League of Legends stuff where, like, everyone was just having fun and it was an absolute bloodbath. I'm getting some vibes from this right now. Like, this is some bloodbath team fight vibes. And, if the donations start coming in, I ain't complaining. So
we're 3 pinata short of a fiesta right now, but we could very well get there.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. Objectives coming up soon. You got about a minute left for this dragon to pop up. It is going to be that Ocean Drake, so you're going to be having either a cloud or a mountain, whichever the RNG-based gods desire. But it also means that this neutral objective being on the table soon is where Illinois and Columbia are going to be setting their sights on. Now, I was talking about how Cats and D3 have this massive zoning control with Tom Kench and Senna around these objectives. Now the question is, how fast can John Dax or Best Can in Asia be able to secure and take these, right? Because you have teleport priority, teleport side lane pushing up for a Kennen. They're trying to throw as much gold into that Azir as possible because, he did pretty darn good on that Rise last game. It's just a question on if they're able to scale and get to that place where they were really able to contest with those fights. If I'm
Well,
Illinois right now, give it up, but it doesn't look like
yeah.
Columbia's going to get them away free of charge.
No, Cats could be the only casualty here if they play their hands right, but no, they're just trying to buy some time because now here comes the Crimson Chin as they want to get in onto this one. Robex quite low. Jombex doing what he can. Finds Robex, does pick that one up, but this is Andy Bendy's show right now, and he's making the damage happen by Swaggers. Is going to go down. Nintendo finds
look
the
at the
kill for
soldiers.
himself there as Best Cannon on the way out. The Ignite the Chickens. They're going to come through to make it happen as D3 Amos trying to run away. The last survivor, but the Cataclysm says nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. He will find the kill. And it's a delayed ace as Cats did respawn, but 5 kills going the way of Columbia College.
And for the cost of only 1 for Rovex falling there. And I can't really bash Illinois a lot here. That was really the right call to come down and try and sort of threaten that contention for Columbia. You could argue that, just let Cats die, just let Best Ken in Asia go for this additional turret gold on the top side. That would have been the other option, but what would you have possibly lost? Because you just saw the amount of chase potential that Columbia College had. If Best Ken in Asia didn't come down and sort of help force everything away, that could have been a full 4-man into multiple turrets, not just this bottom one on this side. And Chombax actually might be able to get a consolation prize on Misty Stumpy here, but he's able to get away free of charge.
Yeah, I think he is backing at this point, but no, Chomdeath couldn't run back into the bush enough time to make that one happen. The turret blades do fall. He might stick around and get a little damage down, but there's not enough left for him in this bottom lane with the way that things are going. I think the Scuttler came up. Hey, great, but there's no dragon to contest. We got second Rift Herald as well. It's a much more important objective about to spawn right up here. And to their credit, they do have Best Ken in Asia holding down that top lane, priming it out already. But if they're not careful, this could go topsy-turvy in a hurry. Only thing is Chomdex does have teleport advantage.
Now, they don't have Cannon Barrage either. So it's something where you either lose that side lane pressure, let Misty Stumpy hard push, and you have Chomdex come in for that 5-man. But the thing is Misty Stumpy can clear so fast that he can take that wave, run to the top side, threaten the 5v4, and force the teleport, and then possibly just go back to lane and just shove it out a little bit faster than Chomdax can. Yes, you have the Trinity Force on Gangplank, but at this point, you are 5,000 gold ahead on Columbia right now. So you might as well just use as many options on the table as possible to really get Illinois in a confused state.
He's got a fight breaking out here. Nintendo trying to do what he can, but Cats is in the middle of it all. He's going to be eating all the pressure. And they do just leave the Catfish out for bait that time around. Now, Best Ken in Asia, well, he was able to at least do a little bit of damage before going down, but it's not enough to stall out the members or save this tower. This is now by Swaggers on the way out. They're chasing it down. Stumpy, he's so huge on this one. He doesn't care about diving the towers. He doesn't care about any of it. He just wants to bring the damage, and they're at least going to get a second proc on this Rift Herald, if not maybe more, because they can shred this tower.
Yeah, you don't need a sieging composition. You don't need a poking composition. And you don't need anything as long as you have Rift Herald battering away on these turrets.
3 procs, baby. 3 towers.
Yeah, this is going to be I think this is the inhibitor as well, so that's just massive amount of damage going over. Inhibitor going to fall on top of that.
I think they back it off here just before that inhibitor does go down. Yeah, they probably could have stuck around. I know you're seeing what I'm seeing, like, man, they're so strong. But I think they're just... This is an exercise in discipline and restraint from Columbia College, I should say.
Yeah, that is 100% restraint going over to them. So just back it off, play it safe, do it cool. And, now you're getting to that point where you went from 5,000 gold lead to around an 8,000 gold lead now. You could, again, you're in the situation where you were in game 1, where we are at our power point, where there is no way that Illinois is at a even sniff or even just like a scent of contention in any of these team fights. Like, you got one item on both Swaggers, Best Ken in Asia, and Cats, and barely anything else going for D3 Amos and Channel Deck, where you're pretty much finishing up 2 items on every single member for yourself. So having that massive ball of stats already just sort of convinces Columbia that they can do whatever they want. As look at the damage that
Oh,
Misty was able to throw onto D3.
just devastating here. Swagger's on the run out as well. May not make it out without the flash, just barely staying alive for himself this time around. Inhibitor now certainly going to fall, as there's just nothing they can do to contest this one. They don't even have Andy Bendy with them, mind you. He's just priming out this bottom lane already. Can do it completely solo. Knows he's not afraid. The rest of his team, they'll roam down quickly, effectively. We're still pre-20 minutes, Coco. This is
Yes.
17 and a half.
This is a lot cleaner than last game. Like around this 17 minutes, it was still something where I felt that Illinois could possibly find some hiccups and throws here or there, but from right now, Columbia has really tuned in. They are on point. And yeah, you had a little bit of issues with Misty Stumpy with those early deaths, but he hasn't died since. So you can't really complain on him at all. And Andy Bendy has just been dominating on this Misfortune pick nonstop and did so well last game on Kaisa, to where if you want to look at the damage charts after this, it is the Andy Bendy show. But for this game specifically, you just have to give your hats over to Nintendo Dex, who's just been doing so well on Jarvan.
And this is really just what makes Columbia College one of the biggest fish in the College League of Legends pond, right? They just adapt so well, constantly and throughout. This is, I think, night and day a better performance than game number one, all more controlled. And game number one, there were no slaps. They didn't lose game number one, or come really that close to being in any danger of losing game number one. They still won fairly convincingly. This time around, though, seems like they're just holding all the cards at this point, really punishing Illinois Wesleyan on some of the particulars of their composition and doing a damn good job at it thus far. Now setting up for this bot lane siege. Looks like they could just be tightening the screws a little more.
Yeah, but let this also be a reminder that their whole path through this season for CSL is a sense of trying to gain a sort of inkling of identity and pride back into the narrative that is Columbia College, right? Like, they're trying to get back into those elite forms where they are competing against those upper echelon schools like Maryville, who are like renowned for their League of Legends team. So they're trying to get they're trying to get back to that point. Like, they're trying to get back to that status. So for here, you are punching down a bit, but it's something where you can't take away from the fact that Columbia College is still striving for that perfection.
No, certainly not. Now at this point, here comes a pick attempt. They want to get in onto Swagger, as I don't see him getting out of this one. The Janet Tornado perfectly led. Andy Bendy's just rampaging through that one. Here comes the bullet time, just trying to lock it on down. Shoo everybody away and make the top lane last tower, or perhaps the Baron, come into focus as the next target.
Yeah, respect your opponent. Yes, you could pretty much walk into their base and take what you want right now, but your waves are not yet ready. You still have your supers crashing in on the mid, but you see top and bottom, they've still got a ways to go, and it gives you just enough time to take the Baron, no problem. But you know, Illinois, I like the call. Don't take it away without even a sense of saying, hey, we know you're doing it. We're going to poke at you just to let you know that we're here.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Swagger being the unfortunate one that was caught out at the beginning of all that fight definitely gave the green light for that Baron to come down. And I think pumped the brakes a little bit on Wesleyan's attempted contest, if you could even call it that. They did decide just to hold off there. Now, if they weren't having an uphill battle beforehand, this is, I mean, scaling the side of a mountain.
Yeah, this is a 90-degree angle right now. Like, this is full-on free rock climbing.
Yeah, gotta
harnesses.
Change over to, you know, like melee or something. Pick the ice climbers.
Yeah, you got to get some of that vibes going on. But, you know, at this point, it's a matter of time until all of these inhibitors fall, and Columbia College is knocking on Nexus turrets. There you go, first turret down here on the inhibitor, going to be left naked. Will Illinois actually try and fight back, or will they just sort of scurry back and hide beneath their Nexus? Because you still have some late game damage coming in. Essence Reaver on Chomdact is going to provide some brutish amount of damage, but it's just a matter of when they hit that go button.
Yeah, and I think, you know, at this point, it's just as much of a time to go on the last stand as ever. You really can't hold off too much longer here, because The next tower is already getting primed out here in this top lane. The Nexus
Yep.
towers themselves getting pretty well beat up. There goes one, another one likely shortly to follow there. They have so much range. You have to do something. Here's Azir going in. Can you make it happen? Nintendo, well, he's kind of low, but Andy onto the back
Oh
line,
my goodness.
unstoppable already. They do take out Jace, but at what cost? They lose Cats as well now, and that's going to be Pie Swagger is falling. In addition, D3 Amos doing what he can to just get back onto the steps. The double kills are coming down. The towers are falling. The Nexus is in real deep trouble at this point. And while Robex does go down, it looks like the members of Columbia College are just here to make it happen at the very edge. It's only going to be Nintendo left with the damage. He wants to find the kill before it happens. He's going to buy us just a second more. And with that, they will be punching a 2-0 ticket straight through the hearts of Wesleyan.
Yeah, and now this story pushes further to the next chapter for Columbia College. And at this point, yes, once again, this is to that stage of are they going to be able to compete with the upper echelon this season later on? Right now,
Find out.
looking pretty good. Like you're going into the finals, you're feeling great. You've only dropped one game this entire season for CSL, and everything else has been a 2-0. Even the semifinals have been a 2-0 for you. So it really is a question of what the opposing team coming into that finals, whoever it is going to be, where will they find their weaknesses? Where will they be able to exploit Colombia? Or is Colombia currently this impenetrable defense that is constantly battering down on the CSL season?
Well, Columbia, they're a tough obstacle for any school to overcome. Wesleyan unable to do so here today. They do fall 2-0, and I believe get the first official series loss of their season. Unfortunate that had to happen here in the upper bracket semifinals. That will drop them down, but not out, I do believe, if
Yeah.
I'm remembering correctly. And I'll verify that shortly when I can here, but do believe that the road does continue for Wesley, and it just gets a little bit harder. But hey, you've got one of the toughest schools now. You got 2 game series against them, and you got some tape to hit back, run over. This can always be a learning experience because, like we said, there were some great things coming out of Wesley, and I believe they led CS both games. It was Chomdak's game number 2, Best Ken in Asia game number 1 there for
True.
themselves. Some shining lights, and Chomdak's he was sitting on about 11K gold at the end of that,
Yeah.
just over. The next highest, the highest in the game was Andy Bendy at 11,285.
Yep.
Nobody else anywhere broke 10K gold, right? So Chomdex was, I think, in a vacuum, still much stronger than even the big threats on the likes of Columbia College. The 8-1 Jarvan still didn't have as much gold as this gangplank coming through. So there were some highlights there for themselves as we adjust the microphone.
Yeah, but
Regardless,
it's something where like you got to have your whole team on that point. Like you're 3,000 gold down in jungle, like sure, but it's gold is just one point to this multi-pointed star that is League of Legends in this game in entirety. So it's something where yeah, it sucks you went up against a huge like an overwhelming opponent, but it's also amazing in hindsight because they are the ones that can exploit your weaknesses the best and really highlight them in those tapes. Like when you look back at this game, you can really see, okay, this is where we messed up, this is where we could have done better, this is what we did great. And it highlights those points a lot more efficiently to where they come into the lower bracket and say, you know what, we've learned from the best. Now let's make ourselves the best as well.
well, with that, we'll be watching the rest of this season with immense interest. Of course, the road to the finals. I think something on everybody's mind here at this point. And you can always find the League of Legends esports coming your way from CSL Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be coming through all the way through the finals, which I don't know if the finals themselves will be on that time slot, but everything else on the road that we can possibly grab for you, we will in between now and then. That does conclude us for the night here. Of course, we do want to thank our wonderful sponsors, GameStop and HyperX. You can find out what GameStop's doing to support collegiate esports at GameStop.com/esports, and HyperX, a peripheral sponsor for us on the back half of this season. Well, if you need a new mouse, a new keyboard, a headset, please check them out. Keep them in mind as some of that support does come back to us, keeping us on the air here at the end of the day and giving all these players and viewers a chance to enjoy some collegiate esports at their level. And with that, do of course want to throw out one more special thank you to these teams. We said it before, we'll say it again. We cannot stress enough how grateful we are to have them take time out of their schedules, to take time out of their busy lives as college students to come and play for us here live on stream in an environment like this, especially tonight when we're reminded how much of a blessing that can be. As I believe, the players from Illinois Wesleyan went through some difficult circumstances to be here to play. They had to change a lot in their schedules, a lot in their setups, and in a key match like that, that's never an easy thing to do. So we're very aware of the effort that they put through. We're very grateful for it. We want to thank them. We want to congratulate Columbia College, wish Illinois Wesleyan the best of luck moving forward. And with that, we are going to say good night, ladies and gentlemen. We hope to see you next week.